hit it again. Let's go.
All right, let's call our 4 o'clock work session to order at 4 o'clock.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Madam President, members of the board, staff members that are with us. During this afternoon's work session, we scheduled enough time to be able to go over what we will be submitting as our school year 27 budget coming up for actually the school year 26-27. Sometimes those dates get meshed in together, especially in my mind. But thank you for being here. Mr. Gadsden-Beatty, if you could turn on the projector, please. So, Madam President, members of the board, to start off our conversation, last week I had sent out kind of not kind of, but it was the slide deck or PowerPoint presentation from our last budget committee meeting. We had a budget committee meeting on May 5th, comprised of staff members, and we invited community members, and they met with us also on March 12th. It was March 12th as well, to get together and start having conversations around the upcoming budget and what we need to do and keep moving forward in a positive direction with the finances that are provided to us. So if I may, Madam President, just real quickly, I'll go over this slide deck again, and then there were some portions of it that I highlighted in red with red text to kind of give a narrative and start a discussion here if we needed to. But when we do meet with the advisory committee, the budget committee, they have two goals: participate in discussions centered around the upcoming operational budget with strong consideration around our strategic plan. And then secondly, our goal, and it has worked pretty good the past few years, to come to the board with recommendations to enhance the focus areas and to support the focus areas of our strategic plan, and so develop recommendations for the school board and administration to consider regarding staffing and program needs. I apologize if when I bring my laptop every weekend, it asks me for updates, and I didn't do that earlier today. So the committee is reminded of our strategic plan focus areas, and we do work and have our conversations around these 6 focus areas in the 3-year strategic plan that was developed by the board and the Moriarty-Edgewood School District. And now we get into numbers. So this is where Miss Antoinette and I can have a conversation with everyone. So if you take a look at the top where it says 26-27 operational funding, our unit value was increased by $240 over last year's unit value. So we, not just us, and I say we because it's our budget that we're working on, but across the state, public schools, that is the unit value of $7,117.10. So if we go down to where it says SEG, which is the State Equalization Guarantee Budget, when we have all of our units put together, and down here, I know I'm kind of jumping, but down here, just a reminder that on the 910B5, which is the form that is used by all the public schools, a unit has a multiplier. So for example, students who may not be in special programs or qualify for others units, if it's just a 6th through 12th grader, it is 1.3 is their unit. And then you multiply that by the $7,117.10. And for that line, right, because there's several lines, that's how much money would be added to this budget right here. Miss Antoinette, Miss Young, sorry, Miss Antoinette, we generated over 4,000 units, right? I'm sorry, I know I'm going to throw a lot of things out.
Have everything ready, but
Well, she's looking that up. So when we put all of our units together, again, units are students, but they can also be staff members. So we get units for nationally board certified teachers. That would be a flow-through stipend. So it's money we get in our budget, but it goes straight to the teachers through a stipend in March. In March, we have to report those staff members in October, so we can also have adjustments made if we needed to throughout the year.
We have 4,849.82 units. That's what we generated.
4,948.
4,849.
4,849. I know, I do it. I sometimes wonder why my calculations are off, but, and so those units multiplied by that $7,117 unit value takes us to $34,356,519.17. That is an increase of 1.2 million, 1,262,101.26 over this current year's budget.
Yes.
But
There's a but.
Over the weekend, sir, I realized that is based on the initial unit value from last year.
mhm,
So we actually did not see such a big increase from the mid-year increase that they gave us.
Okay.
It's actually a little bit of a decrease. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what made me think about it this weekend. I was like, shucks, when I prepared that number for the committee, I was using the initial 910B5 I got, not the mid-year adjustment that I got about a month ago. So just
so we did,
just
you did some work. We did some work, right? Yeah.
we didn't get to make, well, we didn't get to make a lot of, well, I mean, it was just in the slideshow, but just going as we go forward to see why we didn't get to make a lot of changes this year.
Mhm,
you know,
exactly.
from last year, so.
Yeah. So with that, thank you for also, we start off the school year with our initial budget, but I'm going to say January. This year it was a little bit later because of legislative situations. It didn't happen until the end of February. But typically in January, while the legislature's going on, we will get a mid-year adjustment to this right here, this number. It'll either be an increase or decrease. We will keep the same amount of units for the most part, but it'll all, and luckily it's been an increase. It's been an increase of mid-year, and they do that off the 40-day count. So with the legislature and with the finance authority and everyone that's involved, they make sure school is up and running, and then they take your 40-day count enrollments and all the other factors in on the 40th day to make adjustments mid-year. With that being said, about 95% of this 34 million is in salaries and benefits. And the remainder would go into items such as supplies and materials, which are different than instructional materials, student travel, to pay our bills and our utilities, professional development. Those are the main categories. I believe it was last board meeting, there was an approval for the for funding grants. It was our unified app, the approval to submit it, as well as the Perkins and the Next Gen. So when we meet with the committee, we also want to let them know that these numbers here under federal funds on the right-hand side, and then these numbers here on the bottom right-hand side, left-hand side, and then right-hand side are the funds that we are applying for, that the board approved on those grants. Especially the Perkins and Next Gen for professional development, supplies and equipment, student organization memberships, student internships. That pretty much covers it all right there. That pretty much covers it all. All right, now this slide was the meat of our conversation and really just to talk about moving forward and having the committee have discussions to come to the board today. We are committed with our operational funds of covering Title I shortages that may and have happened in the past. Idea B shortages, especially like this year, we increased our special education staff. You know, when we had this conversation last year, we didn't know that we were going to need five or six additional special education staff members. And so idea B was only put in for the beginning amount or what we thought over the summer. And so operational helps us out and transfer and move some of those funds to pay the salaries for those staff members, which were primarily educational assistants and one teacher, right? And one teacher. And then help cover transportation funding, salaries, fuel, and I leave question marks in there, Miss Antoinette, the latest and greatest on that.
We still haven't received our transportation number. So I don't know how much we're getting in the transportation budget, so I don't know how much operational is gonna have to supplement. It makes it hard to submit my operational budget, 'cause I don't know how much to put in there. But as we go through it, I'll let you know where I put it as a placeholder for it for now.
All
The
right.
state just really behind on getting you those
I
numbers, or-
looked the other day, and last year we received it on May the 5th, but we're now May 11th, and they still haven't got it out. So they're always pretty late with transportation for some reason. And this year goes a little bit later than usual, but
Yeah,
hopefully soon.
hopefully soon. We had a good conversation with the committee about some of the transition, or not some, but the transition we did with our fleet and moving them to propane these past few years, and how that's helped us out with fuel, especially with fuel costs the way they are now, and not knowing the future, as well as the maintenance on those buses. So we really, I believe every single one of our route buses is propane now. That's what we've been ordering. And it's just our activity buses and some spares that are diesel. So that's helped out.
Tremendous,
Just how high the
yeah.
diesel prices are. I mean, the propane's probably a third.
Mhm.
If that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they, so I don't have the exact numbers, and I can get those to you, but to supplement the transportation budget, we were talking supplementing in the mid to sometimes high 300,000s out of our operational to help get transportation through. And I believe the transition to propane buses and just consolidation of some routes, we're down to the 200, 100,000, 150,000 less of supplementing.
That's good.
All right. Everybody's phones are beeping. Everybody's getting home or contacting. The next item that we talked to the committee about and the information to provide you was, and I have that 1.2 million because that's what we were working with last week. That's fine. Is what we definitely have to commit to move into the next school year. 1% salary raises, that's approximately $265,000 that was coming out of the state legislature, right? There was, at the beginning, some questions about how to get that money, where it was going to come from, and the state was able to work on it and get it into the SEG for us. So that's good. We'll get that 1% salary increase. The next one is the 80% insurance premiums that will be paid by the school district for every employee. It's approximately $590,000. Mrs. Young.
So that number is based on who currently carries insurance with us right now and the plan that they currently have. I am nervous how many employees will jump back on our insurance during open enrollment, which will be effective for January. So that number could potentially increase
Is
significantly.
that something that you could ask staff to kind of? or
Get a heads
planning
up.
On jumping on board,
I
just
didn't
so
even
that it,
think about that. We probably could have surveyed and asked what they were thinking.
So that would
I do
be-
think that these new rates might be less now than what their spouses' rates that, they were paying before, so I should have thought about that, Mrs. Burns, I did not. Yeah, we definitely could survey and see if they have an idea of whether they wanted to come back on.
Just a side note, when it comes to insurances and a heads up for down the road. Ms. Young, was it on Thursday or Friday? I think it was Friday. The superintendent, that is the representative for the Superintendent Association on the New Mexico Public School Insurance Authority Board, sent out an email to superintendents to let us know that this upcoming year, right? So for the 26-27 school year, it's a 9% increase in insurances. And then the following year, they voted for a 26.27% increase in insurances.
That superintendent running on Nexus now, or?
Well,
Yeah.
so Madam President, Mr. Chavez, I will tell you in his narrative to us, he was the lone no again that voted for this increase.
Because every year they've increased it about 9% for the last.
Yeah, he was a no vote.
The legislature actually stepped in and put a memorandum or something in place where saying they could not increase it more than the 9.99%. So that's what held us last year and this year. But because last year they had anticipated increasing us 16%. So the legislature stepped in and I guess, I don't know if they helped with funding, I don't remember the details, but they held it. And so now NIMSI is saying, okay, well, we did that for them, but now to break even, we're gonna have to go up by 26% next year, so.
Yeah, so-
that's- I can't even imagine.
So
On
that
top of the 80%.
Right.
We have to
At least
pay now.
2 separate years, but still.
yeah, so the that would be October of 27
Hmm.
that those insurance rates go into effect. Yeah, so within 2 years, almost 37% increase in the insurance premiums.
Hmm.
In the insurance premiums. So I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be a downer, but just
We're, my understanding is when they give their presentation, the NIMSI is self-funded. So it has to do with the high rate of claims that we have. And one of the reasons that it's gone up so much is the increase in doctors prescribing the GLP-1 drugs and how expensive they are.
Mhm.
So they're helping people control their diabetes and get all those health markers under control. But the drug itself was so expensive when it first came out. I think the prices are starting to
Come down.
some now. But that really put the plan in a bind. So, and I think they also put some more stipulations on who could get them as far as who the insurance is gonna pay for them for after the big boom happened.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
Yeah, and when we talk about insurance, again, it's the health side, but it's also the risk insurance, right, for our buildings and
Right.
for our vehicles
that.
and all of that. So, yeah. But with that being said, again, 80% of the insurance premiums right now is approximately about $590,000. The next one the commitments that we needed to make to help service our students is the third bullet there, Moriarty Middle School. They had a teacher that was half-time ESL and half-time English language arts, so regular language arts. With the number of students that they have coming up and then they need to service, there was a decision made to move ESL to a full-time position for Moriarty Middle School, and then work on the ELA part with their numbers and whatnot. A couple of years ago, we had one teacher that was servicing the high school and the middle school. The numbers have increased, so we have Ms. Chavez only at the high school, and then they have one at MMS. MES has a full-time ESL teacher as well, and the numbers are still to a point where we can have one teacher service the schools in the Edgewood area. Restore Ed Tech position. So this position was put together under one position. Next year, it'll be separated back to a district librarian position. So this year, it was the district librarian and Ed Tech. Next year, because of the needs of the district, we'll still need to have a district librarian, which is required for us to have a librarian to oversee the district, and then an Ed Tech position that we are advertising for. Route 66 instructional coach. That is due to the Title I funding, right? The reduction at Route 66.
Correct. So Route 66's numbers have changed, so they did not get as much Title I funding this year as they have in the past.
Okay.
However, we did feel like it was important to keep their instructional coach to help support those teachers and the students in that school. So we will be paying for that FTE out of operational this year, rather than cutting that position altogether.
That's good.
And then the last bullet, custodian, adding a custodian position. There's going to be a retirement, I believe it's still happening. I verified on Friday or called on Friday, and it looks like, don't know if anyone has ever met Kenny, that's worked for a very long time for the district. Does an outstanding job. He will be retiring. So with some movements to support the gym and the athletic fields, the position that is, so there's two positions that help out at the gym. One's a full-time and one's only a part-time. And so we're looking to make a shift to have two full-time custodians in that area, in the athletic fields in the gym. And then one custodian that would, and I tried the best on my narrative there. It's similar to what that position looks like, but we don't need a full-time position for transportation. We don't need a full-time for maintenance. So they could share some buildings. And with the number of students and the increase in the student population and the square footage at Moriarty Elementary, they can help out over there part-time as well. Really, especially like during lunches, during lunchtime and whatnot. So we talked to the committee about that, and everybody, we had conversations, and the committee in a whole was good to recommend to the board that we do make these commitments. Again, the 1% and the 80% we have to do, and the others are based on the student populations, really, and the needs of support for the teachers. The last part was 2 bullets. One of them, and I just kept it, I put keep clubs. During the committee meeting, coming out of COVID, the district and all the school districts, the state was really helping out with funding to bring students back, to engage students, to provide enrichment opportunities or some tutoring opportunities. That funding started getting a little more narrow with their guardrails. And the district, thanked the board, decided a couple of years ago just to fund it on our own. And so we had a conversation about that number. We'd been funding it at about 500,000, a little bit more, closer to 600,000 this year. And that's directly out of operational, right, as an extra. And so there was good conversation. I mean, there about the need, right? The service provided to families, and the actual amount of work and what we actually are paying our staff members. Came down, and the committee was generous enough to have that conversation. We talked for about 25, 30 minutes on this. And the recommendation for the committee, and that's what's built into the budget that was sent to you from Antoinette, is to reduce this by half, 250,000, and then put together a team. I asked them, do you want me to call it a committee, a task force? I don't know what you wanted me to call it. But to get people together who could evaluate the parameters and guidelines so that we are getting a great return on our investment. Are we really providing enrichment activities for students? Are we really providing enough and the right tutoring to increase student achievement? We look at some numbers, they may have only 2 or 3 kids. Some people may say, well, that's not a good return on the investment. But for those 2 or 3 kids, maybe it is, because it's their enrichment. I don't know. I mean, that's where we need to have a conversation to make sure that we have the guidelines a little more strict. And then the last bullet, and then I'll open it up for discussions and we talk more, is there is an ask by the city of Moriarty, and actually I think I had on here, they requested a meeting to discuss. I have that meeting set up on Thursday. So I sent this to you guys midweek last week to the board. I have a meeting set up with Chief Urbina to talk about what that increase may look like. For everyone's benefit and information, it was a brief conversation I had with Maranaya about this, and they are looking to increase their salaries for the Moriarty Police Department, as well as some of the benefits and retirement, to bring them closer and up to par and to other police departments in the state of New Mexico. And so we currently pay $33,000 as our 50-50 portion,
Okay.
right? I will not make a commitment. I will just get some information and then bring it to the board. I'm glad I'll have that meeting on Thursday, so I could have probably a discussion on Tuesday, the following Tuesday at the board meeting, or at least some information of what they may be looking at.
Looking for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Antoinette, just shortly ago, we talked about, or we used the phrase not increasing, right? We've been very fortunate, and thanks to the support of the board and our community members, when we put the strategic plan together, we now have in place some of our programs and some of the systems that we didn't 3 years ago. They are moving forward with our strategic plan, moving forward with what we want to do to increase our student achievement. So I think we're at a point, again, it was 1.2 million last week. It might be a little bit less. That's not a lot to play with. So, talking to the committee and amongst ourselves at the district office, we're at a place right now where we can stay stable. We can keep what we have without having to look at cutting anything, and really honor the 80% insurance premiums and the 1% salary increase without much heartburn, right? That is used a lot when people are talking about budgets. And then get into the next school year, and as we want to increase programs or enhance our programs, we'd have to look at where the funding comes from, especially with some of these grants. We provide the data that the Perkins grant, the Next Gen grant, we're using it properly. It's helping our students. We're getting internships. We're teaching kids about, all that's out there in careers and CTE and college and career readiness. Then maybe they'd give us a little bit more next year to help us out. Ms. Antoinette, anything?
I guess I just wanted to add that, the reason that we're able to do this, as you can see how tight that is, even with the little bit that we're doing, is because of the fact that we have been careful with our cash, and we have cash there that can help us, get through these changes. I think it occurred to me over the weekend that I must have been off on that, because as I was actually working the numbers last week to send them to you, I told Todd Freddie, I'm like, this is way tighter than I thought it was going to be. So it was bothering me, like, what am I missing? And then I thought, I didn't consider the mid-year increase. But on a good note, because that mid-year increase just came last month, we're not going to spend it in the next 2 months, so that will help us.
That will
to get
help.
through next year. So in a way, yes, we're still going to have that 1.2 million, because we didn't spend it this year because we just found out about it. But because we've been, so careful, and the board has been diligent about keeping that policy to have at least a 5% cash reserve, it helps us get through times like this, that it's a little bit tighter, and get us through to the next phase.
Yeah. And again, in years past, when that mid-year adjustment has come in January, then we may spend some of it to get us through the school year. But because it didn't come to us until the March, in March payment, right?
It was last month that we approved it at the board meeting.
So it was,
we got
yeah.
that real
So it
quick.
came late, yeah.
Yeah.
They sent us the number in February, but for them to
Oh,
get
that's
the
right, yeah.
actual FAR memo, it was just last month. that we approved it in April, so.
So I know I have some, approximates or not whole numbers to the dime or to the penny, with the salary raises, but the insurance premiums. But, Madam President, members of the board, any questions or any thoughts on some of these commitments, and as well as the, not as many recommendations this year from the budget committee, but they understood that we're at a good place. We're at a good place just to keep moving forward without, because you know how it is. You start adding, it gets washed out maybe sometimes.
So are we gonna plan on the 250,000 for the clubs? And then how soon
Mhm.
is the team going to meet to start discussing the parameters?
Yeah, so, Madam President, members of the board, my vision on that is we put the 250,000 in, and then that is gonna be a little, it's a separate conversation because we've already talked about that budget. And then start working, I mean, honestly, it still blows my mind. I'm like, 2 weeks left in schools,
Mhm.
that's it, you know? We definitely have to have something by mid-July, to have, I mean, we could do it over Zoom meetings or anyone that wants to join up and at least, start those conversations, of having, you know, and I think, Principal Romero really, you know, talked to this point, about the, some non-negotiables, some guidelines, and really tightening that up again. In my opinion, I think clubs do help our families. They do help,
Definitely.
but, right? But I want the intent that it originally started 4 or 5 years ago to be there and to revisit that, you know, and really look at helping student achievement as well as enriching kids and giving them a
Right.
dose of, you know, something that they may not get elsewhere.
Well, and the needs of the kids for these clubs and what they're getting out of it changes every year.
Mhm.
Especially in the elementary and middle school levels.
Yeah.
It changes so
Abs-
much that
Absolutely.
some
We-
of it may not be able to have a conversation until after the first year starts and then find out what interests the kids have.
Mhm. I don't have any data on it, but for example, maybe on that note, students that took a cooking club, you know, as sixth graders, seventh or eighth, they're enrolling for family and consumer science,
Mhm.
right? It sparked their interest. Or the students who may have done one of the STEM clubs, now they're really looking at our robotics
Mhm.
or they're looking at aviation.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's the importance for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
as well.
How hard would it be to get those numbers from this year, what clubs we had and what their attendance rates were? So we can start looking at it next year.
We could get those within a couple of weeks for you.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we have timesheets, we have attendance and stuff, yeah.
I just want, because we're talking about parameters like how many students and everything need to be in the club
Mm-hmm.
and what they're pertaining to.
Mhm.
We're gonna have a guideline for next year.
Mhm.
We have a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, like we talked about in the committee, it's not so much about how many kids are in
Each
that
club.
particular
Right.
club.
Mhm.
It's also building relationships, getting to know
Right.
the students and finding out where
Mhm.
their needs are.
Another thing, some people call it babysit after school, but we live in a rural area, a lot of parents don't get home
Mhm.
later on,
Mhm.
and the kids are there,
Mhm.
and it's scary to send the kids home by themselves.
Right.
Right,
So that helps the families out a lot too with that.
right.
Even though some people call it, like Bob say, maybe we just use it as a babysit.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's worth it to keep some kids safe.
Yeah.
Than for them to go out there and be alone.
I agree.
Mhm.
I didn't, Madam President, members of the board, one thing that I forgot to mention was, we did have a conversation in the committee because, our GEC are at the 3 elementaries. So we had that conversation, like, how many kids go to RGC? Are we competing with them? Are they competing with us? But this is where we landed with the recommendation to continue it for next year, and then have that conversation probably again next year,
Mhm.
right? Do we continue it at this rate of 250,000, more or
Do we need to
less?
go back up?
But that's the data collection.
Like they say, one day at a time, it's only 1 year.
Right.
Mhm. One budget at a time.
Yeah.
One budget at a
That's
time.
right.
Yes, sir.
So,
The next piece of our conversation, and I'm not even sure how we do this sometimes, is you were provided 113 pages.
thanks.
That was the budget,
Mhm.
you know, and I could just scroll and scroll until somebody says stop, you know? It's,
Denny's a good one on that.
My wife told me, you want me to print them? I said, no.
you know, it's pretty cumbersome, 100 and I believe, I think today I said 130 pages or but 113 pages broken down by Position,
Number that we don't understand.
yeah, by the,
It's in your
job
paperwork.
classifications. Again, it just this, like, for example, this right here on top, the nation's largest account numbers, I think, ever
Mhm.
for the state of New Mexico's, the Public Education Department. Again, I'm not sure if I said it in a meeting like this, but I know I've said it before to staff that years ago I was told that this is the longest, count string, 36 numbers.
Ooh.
But if you look, majority of as I scroll, it's this number right here. This 11, where you get, I don't know if you can see it.
Uh-huh.
It's just it's on all of them.
Mhm.
The 11,000.
Yeah.
That's the budget we're talking about. That's the operational budget. I'm gonna let that absorb in a little bit longer. See.
Mhm.
You also have all the other budgets in there, your 13,000, which is transportation,
Mhm.
the 21 and the 21,100 are student nutrition. The SB9 budget, the GEO bond budget, debt service, all of the ones that we're responsible for. So that's why the report is so long, so that you can see those numbers as well.
Mhm.
We didn't change anything in any of those.
That was my big question. Was there any major changes?
Yeah.
Not in those other ones. Like I said, transportation, I gave you what I'm, projecting for salaries and benefits. But it's obviously not even balanced yet because I don't know what my number is.
Right.
So,
So there's no major changes then?
no, student nutrition, the 21,000 is what we get from, the feds for student nutrition. The 21,100 is that, what is it? I just lost it, where no kid goes hungry. I can't remember the name of the bill.
Something like that. I remember
It's
that.
something like that, but we are gonna have to use more of that grant next year than we did this year,
Mhm.
as all of us know from just going to the grocery store.
Grocery, yeah.
Food has gone through the roof astronomically, and they have some pretty stringent, they're getting stricter and stricter on what we feed the kids,
Yeah.
in a good way. I mean, we have to,
It's for
more
their
fresh
good,
fruits, more vegetables, more, non-processed
Mhm.
foods. It's good things, but they're also more expensive, as we all know.
Mhm.
So, they have to have a certain number of, from scratch meals, or the other term is, I think, like quick scratch or something like that,
Mhm.
which means they could buy like the carton of egg whites and use that as
Mhm.
they
As
call
their-
it like quick
Mhm.
scratch or something.
Mhm.
So that money, but she has a healthy amount in that budget because we hadn't had to tap in there. But I think we definitely will have to in this next year. Our food is through the roof,
Mhm.
as everybody's is at home. Athletics is pretty much stable. They've been, earning and spending. They pretty much maintain themselves. Other than what we help them with some with the, coaching stipends. 23,000 is the student activities, so I just budget however much the kids fundraise this year, what I anticipate they're gonna carry over to
Mhm.
next year.
Mhm.
The 24s were all in Mr. Gascondini's Unified app. So those ones, the next one we would look at would be Medicaid. Medicaid is revenue that we generate from, some of the ancillary services that we provide our special education students. We have a few positions in that budget, a guidance counselor, some nurses, some health assistants, those kinds of things. Again, I haven't added or subtracted anything from there. We did get a new billing system this year, so we're hoping that the revenue is a little bit higher. It's a little bit more user-friendly. But we use that to support all of our students, but a great majority of it is for those that have, IEPs or 504s, because they have medical needs. Sorry, I'm flipping through here quickly, just to go over the other ones. 27,109 is, what we get for, 107, sorry, is what we get from the state GEO bond that the state passes for libraries. So, Mrs. Apple or, whoever the librarian is next year will go through and make a plan for how they're going to spend that money. So the libraries get an allocation by themselves
Mhm.
from the state. They're pretty strict. It mostly goes to library books. A part of it does go to help pay for the software to check those books in and out and keep an inventory of those books. Pre-K budget's in here. We also have not got that number, so it's very, again, I have the salaries and the benefits in here for you guys, but whether we're gonna have to supplement them or not, I don't know yet. Mrs. Lopez checked with them last week.
Mm-hmm.
They have assured us that it shouldn't go down. And we might see a slight increase because they have increased the per pupil amount a little bit. That was good news because earlier this year, a couple months ago, she had got a memo that they were cutting our funding just out of the blue. So we were glad to hear that that did not end up
Did
happening.
not happen, yeah.
Probably, you'll see the 29,134 is the windmill money. The 29,135 is the money we get from the solar panels. And then 31,100 is our geo bond. Obviously, we're going to sell
Mm-hmm.
those bonds in July, so they're in this next budget.
Mm-hmm.
Same things we've used it for in the past, just to follow the FMP technology. Hoping to get Edgewood Middle School HVAC done. Hoping to bring you that quote next week. So 31,200 is the allocation that we got from the state PSCOC. We got one for security a few years ago, and we've spent all of that. There was some for Kate, career and technical education. And this year we got another big chunk for career technical that we're hoping to use, and some more, because it's not enough, but to redo the kitchen for the home ec, to move back to the high school, so they're not going back and forth. So we'll also be bringing you that quote at the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then 701 and 703 is SB9, the one that we go out to election for, and then the state match that they give us. So we use to maintain our buildings. And then the 41,000 is our debt service. So our bond advisors watch that very closely. They ask us for the balance all the time. She's actually optimistic that we might be able to pay off another one of our bonds early.
Good.
So that was good news to hear that okay too. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that's a lot of numbers. So if anything jumped out at you as you were going through that you guys have questions on, please let me know. What time is that? Good job.
Good job, yes.
Continue.
20 seconds to spare.
Right, so, well, I can't thank you enough for your due diligence and how hard you work at keeping us liquid.
Thank you. I have an amazing team.
You
I
do,
I
you
don't
really
know anything
do,
without
and
them,
thank you
so.
for all your work that you do.
So, Madam President, when we open and start our special board meeting, there is on the agenda to approve the operating budget as the 113 pages have it. The due date is not for a few more days, but and this is great on her end. Mrs. Young likes to get it to our budget analyst sooner than later. If there's any adjustments that need to be made. And again, I thank you for having this special meeting. We thought that we might be able to, or just talking to the budget analyst to do it on next Tuesday's meeting. But they highly recommend having the board talk about this prior to. So that's why we were here tonight. So thank you for being here.
So with this, the new accreditation system coming down, she just wasn't sure how they were gonna read that part of the statute, so she said just to be safe.
On the safe side.
Do it ahead of time.
Mhm.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so if, Madam President, I may transition to the other action item that's in our special board meeting agenda. It is the fine arts application. And with us is Mrs. Romero, who is helping us maintain the fine arts application this year.
Good afternoon.
I'm giving you a printed copy
copy of a very ugly application because it is a Google Doc. I wanted you
Thank
to
you.
see exactly what it looks like.
Mm.
So it's a Google form.
The public education department transitioned to a Google form for a statewide application last year. And so I did the best that I could to print it. It's set in the form as sections, so that's why there's so many different pages. But I thought it was important that you actually see what I submitted. So you can go ahead, Mr. Bibiano. So Fine Arts Education Act application for 26-27. I thought it was just important that you know that the state of New Mexico, their core mission for fine arts grades K-12 includes dance, media arts, music, theater, visual arts, and then the Educational Act, their mission is to promote access to excellence in education for all students through arts, humanities, literacy, math, and sciences, foster a rich cultural life for all New Mexicans, and boost learning and achievement. So that's just their mission. So how they fund us through that is based on, of course, our application. This is a renewal application because we have received the Fine Arts Grant for at least 15 years, I would say. So our main goals for our school district in the application is skill acquisition, cultural awareness, and then creation of work in performing music and drama. These three goals lead to development in motor skills, language skills, social skills, decision-making, risk-taking, and that's supposed to say, oh yeah, and inventiveness, yes. So there's the application, as you can see, it breaks down each school building. And so we have 3 elementaries and 2 middle schools, only 6th grade. It covers K through 6. So those numbers are included. Each school is listed out with their population. And for the middle schools, that population number is only 6th graders. So then the next slide, sir. So currently, the students for next year that I projected that we will serve is 1,284, and the FTE that I projected that we would be serving are 2 elementary music teachers, one at Moriarty Elementary, one at Route 66, 1 elementary art teacher, one at Route 66, 4 educational assistants. So those are the educational assistants work at the other schools that where the art teacher is not. We have, for instance, we have an art teacher at Route 66, and we have 2 educational assistants, one at Moriarty Elementary and one at South Mountain Elementary that is the teacher collaborates with, provides lesson plans, and supports those educational assistants. The same happens with music. Then we have 2 middle school art teachers. And then I did put in parentheses there because it's just partial FTE because our art teachers serve 6 through 8, but this grant is only funded for 6th graders. And then projected 3 periods of band at the middle schools, 2 periods of choir, and 3 periods of guitar because again, it is music and all arts. So in the application, I have to give, of course, the numbers, the FTE, and then there is some pages that have text. So it's a lot of text on our methodology, what our curriculum and our philosophy looks like, and how we create lessons that meet all of the 3 goals that I listed out there. So in your spare time, feel free to read all of our, but this application does not deal with dollars. The dollars come to Mrs. Young later.
Okay.
Questions?
Serves a lot of students.
Mhm.
They absolutely do, yes.
Mhm.
And they don't cover that whole FTE, correct, Miss Young? It only covers portions and gives us some money for professional development and gives us some money for supplies and materials. So we're able to provide about $1,700 per school for supplies and materials for art, for instance, every year. But that's good because that, frees up other funding.
1,700 out of this grant,
Yes.
right? Out
Yeah,
of this
for
grant.
each school.
school.
So
Each
you
school.
divide that by
That's awesome.
3 and yeah. And then our teachers, and you can read that in here too, our teachers do go to the fine arts, like the music educators conference, and that pays for their registration
Okay.
fee and things like that. We pay for that out of this.
But I hear they paid up pretty good this year. Sure that they've done it.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Yes. They're doing a great job. They are doing a great job.
unless that we don't-
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So even though Ms. Romero applies for this grant, it runs through the SEG. So it's already in that number from operational, the 34 million number. But we have to do the application to tell them how we're going to spend that money and show that we're really using it on. the
On
fine
those
arts
things,
program.
It just goes down there, so that's no secret.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
part of
Thank-
that 32 number digit
Mhm.
that goes in front of all these, yeah. All right.
Do we have the council together? Because on one of the pages, this is Fine Arts Advisory Council.
Yes, yes, sir. We have, so we use an educational, art teacher. I need to include, and I did not, this year, but I need to include a music teacher. We have not included a music teacher probably in the past 5 years.
Hmm.
But typically we, include a parent and, myself, Mr. Gaston Beatty, myself, and, a principal, and then, the art teacher.
No.
And you.
No.
It sounds like you're volunteering.
I thought that's what, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of us picked up on that one, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Romero.
Mhm. Thank you.
All right. So Madam President, let's see, what time is it?
7 till.
Yes, 7 till. Any questions on anything that was presented anymore? Questions?
I know grants are hard, but keep writing grants.
Mhm.
The process is not fun, but
Right.
that's definitely helps supplement.
Yeah.
A lot of what we do.
Mhm.
It does. And Madam President and Ms. Burns, we again upped it up with Perkins. We hadn't had this in a while, and now we upped it up with Next Gen. There's also another grant, Innovation Zone, that we're looking at. So we provide the correct data and things are moving like we're supposed to be moving with like on the CTE side, right? Because that's what pops into my head right off the bat.
Mhm.
Then the state will help us.
Is there
Yeah.
anything out there that would help? We're gonna go back and we're gonna call it home ec because I can't remember what it's
I
actually
know.
called. But,
Mm.
is there any grants available for that?
So encompassed in the Perkins with Next Gen and Innovation Zones,
That's all.
it's all part of that. It's all part of CTE. It's yeah.
So it's not
Mhm.
the solid under CTE.
Mhm.
Mr. Chavez also let me know last year about another grant and gave me a contact person. By the time I reached out to them, it was already past the deadline. By the time everybody got the information disseminated. I will look for that information and
If
contact.
not, I'll
them.
get it back to you.
I.
You know them?
New Mexico Beef Council? Was it the Beef
New
Council?
Mexico Beef Council, yes.
Yeah.
They'll help with, some of the food for the home ec.
That would be awesome.
Family and Consumer Science.
It'll come up now in the
Yeah, there you go.
But another thing. is I
Family
gotta
consumer.
do my 6 o'clock. I gotta go to the water, and so they called me last night, they wanted to meet with me while, with the water and soil conservation about, helping kids out too. So,
Okay.
Mhm.
I sent my son, but my son is young, sorry, he won't understand what I want to say. I
Mhm.
said to him to go talk to him.
Good, thank you.
So there,
Yeah.
and we can build upon till we max out what we can with the
Mhm.
state, and then there's other organizations that are program, especially showing the numbers of kids that are interested in that program.
Mhm.
Yep.
All the programs that we have.
Yeah.
And then especially when they're seeing what the outcome is coming, like winning
Mhm.
championships, just really outshining everybody else.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Awesome.
All right, then, Madam President, I think we can close the work session, give everybody a little
5
bit of break
minutes,
if they
yeah.
need to use the
Right.
restroom or stretch, and then we can start as soon as possible.
Okay.
All right?
4:55, we'll close this work session and take a break and come back for 5 o'clock. Be ready to go. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Monday, May 11th, special board meeting to order. Would you please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam President.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Madam President, I recommend adoption of tonight's special board meeting.
Superintendent Bibiano recommends the adoption of our special board meeting tonight. May I have a motion?
I so move.
A second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving
All
forward.
right. Madam President, I recommend approval of the draft of our meeting minutes from our regular meeting on April 21st, 2026.
Superintendent Bibiano recommends the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on April 21st, 2026. Are there any comments in regards to those minutes? If not, may I have a motion?
So move.
A second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
All right, Madam President, in our work session, 4:00 work session, Mrs. Romero presented information and the application for the upcoming school year fine arts grant. And so if there's not any other questions or any other discussions, I recommend approval of the MESD Fine Arts Grant application.
Superintendent Bibiano is recommending the approval of our MESD Fine Arts application. Are there any other questions in regards to that? If not, may I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the fine arts application.
A second?
Okay.
All those in favor
Jeff.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Accepted?
Who's the second, Jeff?
Jeff.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Madam President is also in the work session, presentation on the work that was done with the MASD Budget Committee, as well as the diligent work by Mrs. Young and her staff. And so I recommend approval of the FY27 operating budget.
Superintendent Bibiano has recommended that we have the approval of the fiscal year 27 operating budget. Are there any new questions or comments to that? If not, may I have a motion?
Madam President, I so move that we approve the fiscal year 27 operating budget.
I'll second.
She seconded.
Wendy did.
Wendy
We
did?
yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I say aye. Okay. All right. Motion carries.
Got
We've
it.
accepted the operating budget.
All right, Madam President, then through a roll call vote, I recommend entering closed executive session.
Okay. I recommend that the board adjourn to close executive session as permitted under limited personnel matters as permitted under section 10-15-1 H2 of the New Mexico Open Meeting Act, specifically discuss the superintendent's formative evaluation. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second.
I'll second.
It's supposed to be a roll call.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's supposed to be
we're
roll call.
good. Now we'll roll call.
Okay, now we do a roll call. vote. Okay. All right.
Jeff
Start
Flossing,
down
aye.
there.
Wendy Burns, yes.
Albert Chavez, aye. Danny Young, no.
Linda Hudson, yes.
All right, passes.
Board, okay. We will now go into executive session at
5:07.
5:07. No other topics will be discussed and no other business matters will be conducted, nor any action taken. So, and I guess Miss Natalie can Excuse me.
Anybody call the followers out? Anybody call the followers out?
No.
We have Mr. Gadsden Beatty at the helm.
Oh, he's manning the. Okey dokey then. So, all right.
All right.
So I
Mr.
guess ask for
Gadsden
the
Beatty,
motion.
whenever you're ready, sir.
You
Are we
ready?
up and running?
Up and running? Okay.
Okay. All right.
So I just asked for the motion, right?
Yeah, come out of
Okay,
exit.
yes.
Yeah, come out of
So-
a closed executive
Yep,
session. Yeah.
Yep. So after the closed executive session, do I have a motion to exit the closed executive session?
Madam President, I move that we exit closed executive session.
And do I have a second? Okay, the matters discussed in the closed executive session were limited to those specified in the motion for a closed executive session. No other topics were discussed and no other business matters were conducted, nor any action taken. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Jeff Lossing, yes.
Wendy Burns, yes.
Albert Chavez, yes.
Linda Hudson, yes. So the board is now out of closed executive session.
All right. So Madam President, I recommend adjournment of our special meeting tonight.
Okay, Superintendent Bibiano has recommended adjournment of our special meeting tonight. Do I have a motion? A second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Executive session, motion.
Good work. Good work. Good.